Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome, welcome. It is time for Naturally Inspired Radio. So glad you're joining me today. The wind has died down here in northern Colorado, so that makes me happy. It is a little brisk outside, I would say. I had to, put on a sweatshirt to go out for my movement today, out with my weighted vest, walking briskly. It's a little chilly. Definitely a little chilly, but fall is here. I won't take up your time complaining about the weather. I promise. I know. I feel like I do that every day, but like I said, I feel it's like my birthright. You gotta complain a little bit about the weather. Maybe that's just what you do when you get older. I'm not sure, but it certainly is on something I think about all the time. But I'm grateful for the blue skies here today and no wind. I'm going to warn you right off the bat today. I feel a little weird. Today. I think a lot of things are happening, and it's got me feeling a little weird. Did you happen to catch Candace Owens's show last night? Because I did. And, I've been following along, just trying to let her investigative process unfold, because this is a free country. Well, yeah, this is a free country. And so I am very much a free speech absolutist. Like, yeah, I want to know what she has to say. Even if I don't like what she's saying, I want to know what she has to say, because sometimes, we get so set in our thinking that when someone challenges what we think, we don't like it. And we bury our heads so that we don't have to face the truth. So I make it a point in my life to listen to things that challenge me. Make sure that I'm not getting into my own, echo chamber where I don't dabble in things, that challenge me and my thinking. So I've been following along, and honestly, I don't really understand the whole shut up, Candace, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. When anybody's trying to silence somebody else, I'm suspicious. Because I've had it happen to me. And I've had it happen to me. Shut up, lady, little unknown lady. Don't, we're just going to take you out here. We'll take you off Facebook. We'll take you off Instagram. We'll take you off YouTube. We'll just take you off because you're unknown. Nobody will even notice. It's true. Nobody noticed. I still don't have a Facebook, right? So they get away with it all the time. So I'm often like, if somebody's saying like, don't listen to her, and then, you see this repetition of vocabulary coming out from different influencers where they pick up the same word or the same point of view, and, they're just hammering that home. And then you find out, people are getting $7,000 per post to shape. And it's like, oh my gosh, Well, how am I going to say this? So there's something called the military industrial complex. And I think Candace Owens introduced a lot of people to that yesterday. I would say, as an expression that Candace kind of went nuclear yesterday. And I don't think even a lot of people know how nuclear she went. But I did. I mean, Jason and I did. We're like, whoa, I can't believe she's going there. Because I'm not sure people are ready for what she's explaining. And yeah, I'm not sure people are ready. And it's I don't know. Like, I don't know if people are going to understand the weight of what she's saying. But yeah, like I said, I'm a little weirded out today because I have known about the military industrial complex. And I have understood it and the way it works. And, naive, I guess maybe just like a little hopeful. I was hopeful when I started my podcast. I actually, when I started what I'm doing right now, it was 2019. It was before COVID. All I wanted to do was connect people to real solutions for health. That's all I wanted to do. I saw people struggling unnecessarily. And I thought, man, they don't know about root cause healing. They don't know a lot of people don't know how to curate health in their body. And so when I started, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to talk about, I'm not going to even get into vaccines. So weird, you guys, because I remember the precise moment I said that to Jason. I said, I'm not going to get into vaccines because, people get weird about vaccines. And then I kid you not, months later, COVID happened, right? So my first episode was August 2019. COVID came around, March of 2020. So I had about 6 months there or something, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Yeah. So I had about 7 months where my podcast was growing naturally. My social media presence was growing naturally. I got more likes on my post when I first started than I do today. And so, what do you say about that? What's going on? Like if nobody knew who I was, I started a podcast 2019. I started putting up Facebook posts. I get a couple hundred likes on them. And now I'm not even allowed on Facebook. Right? I can't grow my Instagram for nothing. But I, for some reason, am like compelled to do this work. And some days I really wish I wasn't. Some days I wish I wasn't. Although I connected with somebody in our community today, such a nice guy, really just such an inspiration. And shout out to Kevin. Happy birthday. Happy 41st birthday to Kevin in our community. Those conversations, they keep me going. But it's not easy to do this work. And I guess when I heard Candace, I knew this, but when I heard Candace say this last night, it had a big impact on me because she was affirming, I guess, what I've always known. And I was hopeful that it wasn't true. I was hopeful that maybe just there was a sliver of a chance, But it is true. And I know it's true. And she knows it's true. And the scary thing is I'm not sure if the bulk of people, enough of the population in the world is ready to accept it. And that's the scary thing. Because we don't actually have to be in this position because we have the favor of numbers in the world. We have the favor of our population, of our numbers. That's favor. But what people don't know and are unwilling to look at from an authentic, honest point of view, that's the problem. And I'm not sure that we're going to have enough people. Let's go straight to the clip because I want to get to it before the first break. And then after the break, we'll break it down. This is Candace Owens.
That are in media. How organic is this? Who's the biggest person on YouTube? Right? I just got interested. I started asking questions are we in a military simulation? Mr. Beast, both of his parents high up in the military. Do you think he really was just getting trillions and gazillions of views because people wanted to see somebody count to 1 million? Or is that interesting? But also it might be relevant that his family's military, high up in the military. Everywhere I looked, every time I was like, well, this person, I got interested even in Lila Rose, right? Catholic, does this whole, speaks about, and she's always been very lovely to me, speaks about the pro-life movement and converted to Catholicism and got a story there. I met her through Marissa, it's kind of the same people funding both. And it was kind of interesting. When I would see Lila kind of jump on the attacking the Christ is King or trying to rationalize why we shouldn't say Christ is King all the time. And she was the lone Catholic that was doing that. And I then got super interested in her when she messaged me about Andrew Tate. And she had someone on her show that was Andrew Tate's, one of the accuser's lawyers. And I was like, this has nothing to do with the pro-life movement. What are you doing? I asked her. And she's like, well, and that woman then attacked me and Tucker Carlson. I said, that's weird. That's kind of random. You're supposed to be the pro-life person. And you're talking to Andrew Colvet's the party to that lawsuit. You're talking to her lawyer. Why? On your show? Why are you the first show she would pick? Why doesn't she go on CNN or Fox News? And I looked, and of course, yeah, you got military all over that background. And I'm going, is anything not military? I'm looking at Barry Weiss and I'm looking into her grandfather. And there's a story that's just incredible. A bomb thrown on.
In this whole podcast, of Candace's yesterday, she gets into just really the steps of how someone gets assigned a handler. And this is no different than Mockingbird Media from yesteryears, right? Oh, Mockingbird Media, that was a psychological operations. It's over now. Oh, Lord, help you. No, it isn't. It's never ended. It's only exploded. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio. I am so glad you're here. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen.
Welcome back. I'm so glad you're joining me today for Naturally Inspired Radio. I want to jump right back into this topic of the military-industrial complex. What is this? What does she mean by this? Right? The Mockingbird Media, that is a psychological operation that has been ongoing. And it's essentially social engineering. Social engineering. So not letting things happen organically, right? And I guess, like, why would you? Why would you let things happen organically when there's so much at risk, right? So much money, so much power, so much, at risk if you just let people come across information and make their own decisions about things. A lot at risk. This is a great clip that I have for you that just scratches the surface and starts to introduce the idea of Mockingbird Media. Take a listen.
Television news in the U.S. first began to take shape in the late 1940s, shortly after World War II. And back then, the news felt sacred. Every evening, Americans tuned into the same voices, men like Walter Cronkite, Edward R. Murrow, and Dan Rather, trusted faces who spoke with calm authority. They weren't just reporters, they were the nation's conscience. And when Cronkite said something, people believed it. But what if even that trust was manufactured? What if, behind those polished desks and deep voices, someone else was pulling the strings? Because as we now know, CBS, Time Magazine, and a dozen other outlets were quietly working with the CIA. And it wasn't to keep you safe, it was to shape what you believed. And here's the part no one wants to admit, it didn't stop. It just went digital. Today, the lines between the media and intelligence are more blurred than ever, and it all started with a little-known program called Operation Mockingbird.
So, I guess what I realized last night, why I'm kind of just real weird today, is because, I guess a part of me is thinking we could, when I first started doing this, we can inform people, we can make change, and now I think I'm starting to realize this thing is so big, and we are so off the rails. I have to go back to the Roman Empire stuff that I was talking about last week. with the fall of the Roman Empire. Give the people bread and circuses, right? Keep them distracted. Make them chase their cheese came to mind. Like if you're constantly chasing cheese, meaning you're constantly chasing like keeping a roof over your head and food in your belly and stuff, you don't really have a chance to look up and see how the world actually functions. And unfortunately, I'm just the type of person that was curious and saw cracks in it, One of those cracks was the health system. It's not conspiratorial, really, how I was jarred into like looking at things for how they truly happen in the world. I had bad results. And it seems like to me, it takes something like that. It takes something like you have to have like extremely bad results. And then you poke your head up and you go, gosh, like what's wrong with this picture? Like what am I doing wrong here? And a lot of us have had that moment. And that's probably why you watch this show, where you've poked your head up and you're like, man, this is just like this doesn't make sense. More is going on here. And that's when you discover, that the world doesn't actually run the way they'd like for you to think it does. And throughout the podcast here of Candace's, she describes how, her and Charlie went on the road and they were just kind of like two naive kids thinking that they could make a mark for themselves in politics, change the way people think, and, just pure-hearted. And they didn't even realize they were assigned handlers. They didn't even realize it. She started to kind of put the pieces together and see how media works and how influence actually works, right? When she said something she shouldn't have said. And the minute she said, they called out reinforcements, and she was given a handler. We'll give you a nice cozy position at PragerU and, say these things and do these things and you'll keep getting fed, right? But don't dare step out of line. And even someone like Nick Fuentes, if you happen to catch that podcast, which, I'm not saying I'm a big Nick Fuentes fan. Like, he's a young guy. I don't listen to him all the time. I don't align. I haven't actually ever listened to his show, but I watched him on Tucker the other day. And, even his experience when he's starting to get a little bit of traction where people are noticing him and, handlers start circling. How can we start controlling this person, right? What deal can we make him? He's not quite I don't think he'll do what we say. If I don't think you'll do what we say, we destroy. We've seen it now with Alex Jones, right? If you don't do, how ridiculous the things that, have happened to Alex Jones for things that he has said in a free speech country. Sure, there's things that we don't like or whatever, but like, if you don't do what we say, we'll destroy you. And I think Candace is discovering that. There is this kind of military-industrial complex that there's a club here of some sort. And if you don't adhere to the tenets of the club or the cult, you're not in it. And you're not building anything. Not building anything of, real magnitude. Anyway, you're not going to do it. Now, in Candace's case, her and Charlie were out on the road building relationships with young people. They ended up getting a lot of followers, but they tried to pull them in to being handled. And it didn't work. And now Charlie's dead. And if you go on social media, I mean, there's a big effort to demonize what Candace is saying. And shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And I don't know, it's interesting, you know? It's interesting. It's interesting what takes somebody, you know, into massive followers. Like she brought up Mr. Beast. I've never watched anything with Mr. Beast. I couldn't point him out to you. I have no idea what he even looks like. But isn't that intriguing, you know? There's some great books on even musicians that you wonder how they got to the popularity that they did, when a lot of them don't, you know, write their own music. They don't, you know, come. If you really look behind the scenes, you'll see that it's not talent. You know, maybe they can sing, maybe they can perform or what have you, but you know, I don't know. It's not a merit-based system. And then when you look into their background, people like Jim Morrison, you know, and many musicians actually come from military families. Now, am I saying that the military is bad? No. Our troops, most of our troops, you know, they're just there to serve. And they're our peers, you know, they're not involved in what I'm describing here. What I am describing is an upper echelon group of people that work intricately with a bigger system that controls pretty much the consciousness of people. You know, don't read this, see this, see this. And just because we don't have network TV anymore doesn't mean that went away. No, actually, it's gotten worse because now there are a lot of network TV news anchors, right? And it can control the algorithm and it controls what people are exposed to every day. People are waking up. That's the good news. People are waking up. Check out this clip. This is just a civilian at a book signing, I believe, with Peter Hotez. Take a listen.
Experiment that resulted in COVID. And Peter Daszak and Jeremy Ferrer were business partners in Vietnam in 2008. And that was in U.S. Right to Know. Emily Kopp was the first to report that. So
we got a long line. Can you give us a
but
question?
you're also citing some disinformation sources.
I'm just saying.
And let me just say,
ethical scientists disclose their relationship with people that do unethical experiments and leaky labs. So Peter Daszak.
But I'll just say.
Sorry, we need a question.
Let me just say one. Those experiments. Those experiments were never done. First of all, and second, the National Defense Intelligence Director has come out with the summary statement saying that gain of function had no role in COVID.
Shut up, pleb. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about? You're an idiot. Shut up. The Department of Intelligence already said. Shut up. Are we all just going to shut up? Shut up. Just shut up. That feels like the country we live in now. It doesn't feel like, you know, America is the place of where you can make your dreams come true. Everybody's got a fair shot. Today, you know, I'm usually pretty positive. And I'm usually like, I can overlook things and I can feel like, you know what? This is the land of the free and you can make anything possible. Except for if you go against the military industrial complex. Except if you go against the cult. Then it's not happening. And I think more people are realizing that. Something bigger's at play here. You're listening to Naturally Inspired Radio. I'm Tammy Cuthbert Garcia. Here I am. We'll be back in a minute.
Are you ready to...
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
Welcome back. This is Naturally Inspired Radio. It's trying to connect people to real solutions for health. You know, our country, 76% of the people in our country are walking around with a chronic illness. And less than a third of our young people can qualify to even serve in our military. These were statistics that really I found upsetting. I found it upsetting that people were being lied to and told, you know, that they could medicate their emotions and not have any side effects or consequences of that, that they could, you know, suppress their natural systems in their body and not have side effects or consequences. I found that really disturbing because I saw people suffering. And it really impacted me. I had to do something about it. You know, I had to do something about it. And so I do 2 hours a day, every Monday through Friday. I'm here talking about this stuff, trying to help people connect to real solutions for health. And in the process, I got to talk about some of the mechanisms that get people trapped in the system. And part of that is just understanding the world we live in. It blows my mind that some people walk around and they think, oh, you know, everything's organic and that person's so cool and this happened. And do you really really think about it. Just think about it from a corporate view. When someone hires a CEO, do they just kind of like put out ads and are like, you know, hopefully people will come to our business? They don't, right? They spend hours around conference tables. They hire media people. They hire marketing people. They put together plans for success, right? They put together a plan. It's a business plan. They follow the steps for a very specific result. That's how your country works. And there's the people who have the most dollars, they get to be part of the plan. They get to be part of the plan. They get to, bring their innovation. They get to sell their innovation, and you pay for it. You go to work every day and earn an honest living, and you get taxed. And then these corporate behemoths come in and, they say, well, serve the government. This is a private public partnership, right? So, this can benefit the greater population. So, fund us, subsidize us, health insurance. Subsidized by the government. Food supply, well, it's subsidized by the government. Like everything's getting, look at Doge, right? Everybody's has worked their little scheme out where they can get some cash from the taxpayer. And we're all just busy trying to like keep the lights on in our house. So we don't have time to like look up and see how the heck is this, like what's going on here, you know? And God forbid we do, because when we do, well, there goes our head. Because you can't let anybody talk about this. And so I got a lot of respect for Candace. I have said this before and I'll say it again. I'm telling you, she is working with the Holy Spirit right now. You can see it. I can see it in her eyes. You're not going to stop her. You're not going to stop her. And I pray for her safety. I pray for her safety. I really do. Because this is like so much bigger. So much bigger than I think she ever thought it was, you know? But it's her commitment and her protectiveness over Charlie that's driving her to do this. I don't think she's going to let it go. And I don't know. And you know, she's saying like, there's a problem here within Turning Point. There's a problem here. Something's not right. I think most of us think that it wasn't a lone shooter, right? Who was he pissing off? Who was Charlie Kirk pissing off? Because he was pissing somebody off. And at some point they decided this wasn't his views, his influence had grown to the point where this was a real problem. That possibly this could disrupt Project Mockingbird. That's what I think. Now, I don't know who is doing that. I don't know the faces, but you know, we know who holds a lot of money. And so I think there's many players on the field with a lot of money that control what gets said and who it gets said to. I think this is a very dangerous game. You know, just a rudimentary search when I was thinking this, like, who is Peter Hotez, right? Like this little guy, he holds all these patents in virology. Like he's loaded, right? Off of this work he's doing. He's been like conning, you know, everybody about the COVID vax and stuff like that. Well, it's like, who's his dad? Yeah. United States Navy lieutenant. His dad was World War II. It's just interesting, right? Like, I mean, I know that your net worth equals your network. You ever heard that? You know, your net worth equals your network. I think it's your connections, you know? I just think it's your connections. How you get involved in this thing is very interesting. Like Candace revealed a lot here. Like she didn't even know she was getting assigned a handler. She just like, they were just making a splash, her and Charlie. And so people were like, ooh. And then she describes how, you know, somebody took a look. Actually, no, I think it was Nick Fuentes that described it, or maybe it was her. I can't remember now. But somebody described how they were going to like take a look, that Ben Shapiro was alerted of Nick Fuentes. That's what it was. Ben Shapiro was alerted of Nick Fuentes. And so he was going to take a look. What does that mean? What does that mean? You're going to take a look at somebody, you know? Does this mean you get like brought into the circle, and as long as you work in the circle, whatever that circle is, like whatever the agenda is for the circle, I don't know. But like, it seems to me that you do have to be in the circle. And, you know, I'm definitely not in the circle, but I've seen enough to understand how it works. It's very much pay to play. Very, very much pay to play. There's no like community in podcasting. Very rare. You pay to play. Podcasting is the new media. And you pay to get on other podcasts if they have a bigger following, right? So I know a little bit about how it works. And I just think people should know that. I think the public should know that. I think you should know why you're seeing what you're seeing. Mr. Beast is bred in circuses. You know? These people don't land in the position that they're in organically. It doesn't happen. And I fear that this will be like, because we're on such a fast, rapid trajectory towards artificial intelligence and like data capture, like I fear that we'll get to a point where we won't even have access to truth. You know, that people will just kind of like truth. I mean, you see little glimmers of that in the young generation where, you know, their consciousness is completely swallowed by the algorithm and they don't do any of their own thinking. We've even seen recent research that says that people do not have inner dialogue. There are people who do not have inner dialogue. Like, what? So there are people who just, you know, go from A to B, like, I do this, I do that, and there is no inner dialogue. You know what that means? There's no empathy. There's no, like, reasoning anymore. And I mean, once the population grows, that they do not, these, you know, what technology is pumping out. This is why I've said over and over again, like, it is technology brain disorder. It is stealing your inner dialogue. Because the rate of information that you take in through the portal, the phone, is so fast, it's like it's shortening the gaps of being able to have space to contemplate and to come up with your own point of view and your own critical thinking. There's no space. It's too noisy. You're on this constantly. And when you ask people like Ray Kurzweil and these tech people, they actually tell you, yes, we want to eliminate sleep. We want to merge the body with technology. They're stealing your consciousness. They don't want to have a war to win over people, to enslave people. They want you to do it willingly. Why go to the trouble of having a war? Why go to the trouble of having to fight you when they can simply lure you by capturing your consciousness? If you haven't read The Art of War, yeah, you should. Because, like, we're living it. Most people don't even think they're at war. That's the stuff that blows my mind. When we come back, I promise I will bring the sunshine. It's time for your naturally inspired moment. Stay tuned.
Did you know that nearly 70% of Americans struggle with their health every single day? That's why we are reaching out to health professionals and to anyone who simply has a heart for helping people. Right now, there's an opportunity to make a real difference in people's lives while building a flexible income stream for yourself. Whether you're already working in health, wellness, or just passionate about seeing people thrive, we want to connect with you and introduce you to our system. Together, we can provide real solutions that empower people to take control of their health and create lasting impact. If you've been looking for a way to combine purpose with income, this is it. Visit simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. That's simplehealthincome.com or text 720-764-7448. We look forward to working with you.
something I was thinking about. Over the years, I've known a few people, okay? A few pretty wealthy people, I would say. This kind of like, I don't know, I thought about this today. It was really interesting. Like, I know this one older guy who's pretty successful and whatnot. And when you talk about this stuff that we talk about here all the time, like the conspiracy of what's really going on in the world, he gets pretty agitated and he doesn't like it. And I would go as far as to say he gets a little defensive about it. And I guess I understand why now. Before, I guess I didn't. I was like, why would you not want to know the truth? But quite literally, it's like the Matrix, right? Some people do not want to live with the red pill because it's just too hard. And I never understood why you went. And for me personally, I can't live without truth. I can't live without truth, right? Because, I mean, if you're going to live the lie, you're going to be disconnected from Jesus. You're going to be disconnected from God. So, but it doesn't mean it's easy to understand how the world works and to be surrounded by sisters and brothers of the human race and them not understand how the world works, and they don't want to. It's like they go out of their way to not understand it. It's frustrating because really all that needs to happen is for everybody to, oh my gosh, we're not doing that anymore. We're not buying their stuff. We're not going here. We're not doing that. We're going to support each other. But there's just so much confusion, and so much fear and so much doubt in their own capability and confidence, I guess, that it keeps everybody from doing that. So it's going to be interesting because we are at I think a new weird juncture. If Candace keeps hammering this drum with her audience, I think she had 2 or 4, maybe even 4 million views on that. People are going to see it in a different way. So that's some hope. Anyway, today, I'm going to be totally honest with you here. I kind of wrote this for myself. I kind of wrote the naturally inspired moment for myself today because I felt overwhelmed. And so today's naturally inspired moment is how to keep going when you feel like giving up. So we've all had these moments when the weight feels very heavy and the progress too slow and the future too uncertain. But remember this, breakthroughs are often born in the moments you feel most broken. When you're standing on the edge of quitting, it's not a sign of weakness. It's proof you've been fighting for something that really matters. The key is to shift your focus from how far you have left to go to how far you've already come. God doesn't ask us to have it all figured out. He asks us to keep moving, even when our steps are small. Faith isn't the absence of struggle. It's the decision to believe there's purpose in it. So here are 5 strategies to keep going when you feel like giving up. Number 1, remember why. Reconnect to the reason you started. Write it down, speak it out loud. When your why burns brighter than your doubt, you'll find the strength to take one more step. Absolutely. I have to remind myself, and that's what I did today. I reminded myself the reason why I do what I do is because I want to connect people to real solutions for health. I truly am disturbed by our medical system and the pharmakeia of it, the predatory nature of it. The more I dive into it and the more stories I hear from people, I know it's evil. I know evil controls that system. You don't put poor people on 18 medications because you're looking to help them heal. You don't drive people into poverty and homelessness when they're ill. But our system does. That's how I know it's evil. And so even if we just reach 1 or 2 people a day who can take personal responsibility for their health and they actually pull themselves out of disease, then we're winning. And I had to remind myself of that today. 2, shrink the mountain. This is a good one. Don't stare at the whole climb. Just focus on the next foothold. Amen. Right? Because right now the mountain feels massive. It feels massive. If you feel like you have the whole military industrial complex, against you and an entire cabal of people that are trying to push this nefarious agenda forward, it feels pretty daunting. It feels like, oh my gosh. So I can't look at it that way. You can't look at it that way. You got to look at it like your actions do matter. And every time you choose not to support the system, every time you make different choices for your health, every time you even gather more information about how to be healthy, and you pass that information on to somebody at work or somebody it's making a difference. It's making a difference in their life. So we got to shrink the mountain for sure. I need to shrink the mountain today for sure. Number 3, fuel your body and feed your spirit. So exhaustion often masquerades as defeat. Rest. Take a break. Make sure you're eating clean food and you're hydrating your body and you pray. That's where you're going to get your energy from. A strong body and a peaceful mind create endurance for the soul. Number 4, lean into your community. You were never meant to walk alone. So true. Call a friend, join the Naturally Inspired Tribe, ask someone to pray with you. When you share the load, the climb gets lighter. Number 5, turn pain into purpose. Every setback is a set up for growth. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? The answer will guide you toward your next breakthrough. So true. What is this experience? And especially people who are struggling with their health. I know, there's so much fear attached to our medical model. And when you're in the throes of not feeling well, dealing with it, it's so hard to not be fearful. And then you cannot heal when you're fearful. So we have a system that really, promotes fear. The reason why it promotes fear is because, number 1, they'll tell you they don't know why things are happening to you. And it's not true. But they tell you that. So if you don't know why things are happening inside your body, then that is like, how can you get out of fear? Because it's like, there's no reason for it. Why would this happen? There's no reason. And the truth is, there is a reason. But that model won't ever tell you that because it doesn't work. The model won't continue to work if there are reasons and it's explainable why your body's in a state of disease. It doesn't work. They need the idiopathic variable for it to work. They need the fear variable for it to continue, for you to feed the pharmaceutical companies, for you to feed your insurance company, for you to feed their model. You got to have fear in it. It doesn't work without it. But also, your biology cannot heal when you're in fight or flight. So it's like counterproductive. And that's why, I say all the time that you've got to get grounded. When you're on a journey for health, you've got to get grounded and you've got to turn inward and ask for guidance. What resonates with you? You're on a journey to heal. Your job is to listen to your body's communication and try to interpret that the very best way that you can. So it's communication, or in the allopathic model, they'll call it symptoms. I call it signals. You've got to tap into that communication and understand and interpret what to do next. You can't do that when you're in fight or flight. It's like impossible to interpret the signals your body's trying to give you when you're stuck in fight or flight. So the very first thing to do when you're on a healing journey is to bring the body down into and out of fear. Bring the body into, a calm state. And then you can begin to turn inwards and search for answers. The allopathic model doesn't teach you that, right? It is all about urgency. It is about fear. And that just, it's promoting a system of keeping you sick. That's why I say it's a disease care model, because it just manages disease. It doesn't teach anybody how to work with their body to promote healing and get back to homeostasis. So keep that in mind when you're on a healing journey. Keep it in mind, that when you feel like you are about to break, you are getting closer, I gotta believe, that you're getting closer to a breakthrough. And that, it gets a little bit uncomfortable before things really break through. And health is not linear, right? We have to remember that too. Healing is not necessarily linear. You don't, lose a little bit of weight and then everything improves, and then you lose more and you lose more and you lose more. That's not the way it actually works. It goes up, you come back down. You go up a little bit more, you come back down. You have these little, setbacks that lead to another set up. So keep that in mind as well as you're on your healing journey, that healing isn't linear, that things are nuanced, but that you are sitting in the best position to make the decisions about your health. You are. And nobody else is more qualified to make decisions about your health than you are. Have some confidence in your biology, right? Have some confidence in your biology and the fact that your body is designed to thrive, that you are designed to be well, that this is actually what you're designed for. You're not designed to be unhealthy. It's in your DNA to be healthy. Don't give up. If you won't, I won't. I'm Tammy Cuthbert Garcia. This is Naturally Inspired. Hang on for the second hour. I've got a whole bunch of news stories for you and a health topic. Also, Dean Lerwick from Pumpkin Creek Ranch will be joining us. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio. Save it to your favorites and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome back. This is hour 2 of Naturally Inspired Radio. We just spent an hour together talking about the military-industrial complex, talking about Candace Owens and what she's revealing in her videos. We talked about Project Mockingbird, how, there is a psychological operation to control our consciousness, to control what we think. Because what we think controls how we act, and how we act controls a lot, right? And so that's what we're dealing with here. Our country is a corporation, and it's run as such, right? It's for the betterment of the corporation, not necessarily of the people. And I think more people have to understand that. And how these things, there are secret societies. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to take the red pill. I get it. And I'm not putting out a black pill here. I want everybody to understand that. I'm not a black pillar. But, in order to make change, we have to face the truth. We have to be willing to acknowledge the truth if we want to move forward. And, I think we have a huge opportunity here. I talk about this all the time, about upregulating human consciousness, right? If you've been under, a psychological operation, and that what you think is influenced, it's socially constructed, it's socially engineered for a specific outcome. If you realize that, wow, you start asking different questions when things happen, Like I've been saying here for quite a long time now, like right now there are no experts. You guys all lied. You all lied and you got caught, Peter Hotez. Now they're still trying to gaslight the citizenry. Like this, looks like a friendly older dude comes up and says, hey, I know this happened. Shut up is the answer to that. People know. We know gain of function research. We know things leaked out of the lab. We know that you were planning to change the way you make vaccines. We know about mRNA technology and all of the Pandora's box that it opens up. We know. Like, I'm just so tired. Like, really? There's still people that don't know? We know. And so we have an opportunity. But it takes work to upregulate your higher faculties of consciousness. Part of that is being willing to face the truth. And the truth is, a lot of the people you watch, a lot of people that are making waves in media, they might be a part of the psychological operation, and their efforts might not be genuine and authentic. And so question it. I'm not saying don't watch. I'm saying question it. Question Candace. Question CNN. Question Fox. Question it. Right? What is the purpose of this? Does this improve my life? Or does this, make my life harder? Just some I think if everybody was working on improving their higher faculties, their memory, their intuition, they trusted themselves a little more and didn't give their agency over to an outside force, then I think we could, I think that a lot of things are possible. But if we don't, there's solutions ready and waiting. And one of the stories I want to cover today is about how shopping is changing. Have you seen this? So I want to share this clip with you. I'm starting to see definite changes in grocery stores and shopping experiences. Maybe you are too. These are signals of what's to come. Watch this clip.
Can somebody enlighten me on what's going on here? In Walgreens, there are these coolers, and this is where our drinks used to, we can just open it up and grab. Now it's kind of all cartooned all the way down. So if you look here, then I'm looking here, and there's a sensor there and a sensor there. It says, wave your hand. Voice assistant coming soon. Okay? Pretty soon these doors aren't going to be opening. Really thick, actually, but this is where the food is. So what do you think this means for us as people of the United States of America? What does it mean? Wave your hand? Look at that. Why would that be on a door just to get drinks? Just saying. And it's all the way down. Watch your money. Watch your hand, because pretty soon they're going to make us chip it. That's all.
I appreciate, people are waking up, but we're not getting chipped. We're way past the point of chips. We're not getting chips in us. We're being integrated. We're being integrated. Our biology is being integrated into technology. Ain't no chips happening. Chips, it's a long time ago. We don't do chips. Here's my concern is, first it was airports, right? Do you remember, I don't know if you're old enough like me, but, it used to be when you went to an airport, it was actually a pleasant experience. It felt like it was kind of like luxury almost, to be able to fly. Now it feels like a prison. Why are we, institutionalizing things so much? You know what I mean? Like I said, like you used to walk into a airport, and it didn't feel like, now it literally feels like a prison. You know what else feels like that? Schools. I remember, my kids when they went to school, they went to a charter school. And when we first started going there, the doors were open. There wasn't like a lot of fencing or anything, and slowly but surely, when the district started getting involved with our school, fences went up, cameras went in. You had to show ID to go in, and I complained about this stuff when my kids were in school, and the board members told me, well, this is like, it's the same thing that, we have to do. It's like an airport. No, a school should not be like an airport, right? A school should be a community. And now you see even like churches are built like prisons. Churches are built like prisons. Schools are built like prisons. Airports are built like prisons. Even a lot of strip malls and stuff, they look very institutionalized. Like our architecture is reflecting our culture. And it's all looking very prison-y. Oh, well, you have to do that nowadays, because people are this. Is it really people that have changed so much? Or is it our institution that has changed so much that they are guiding us towards prison and living enslaved? Because the goal here is to advance technology, because for some reason, these people who are, in control, because they're making all the money and they're the heads of these corporations and they're innovating tech and all that, the only growth they see is through technology, and progress is technology, and progress is more money, and progress is going to be synthesizing everything under their patent and control. That's the only growth these people see. They don't see, coming back to your natural resources as a human being and like trying to develop your intuition or trying to develop your own, curiosity, trying to develop your own memory, trying to, support the earth in its natural state by living with it, not just on it, and like raping it of all of its stuff and then like synthesizing all of its stuff so that you can call it your own. It's just this like, that's why I think we have a hard time getting along, is because these people want to monetize the earth. They want to synthesize everything, take credit for it, and then sell it back to us. And a lot of us are like, wow, we just want to like learn more about ourselves. We find comfort in nature. And we want to be with nature more. We don't want to destroy it. And we certainly don't want to monetize it because it feels wrong to us to do that. So we have this, really weird styles of living. And that video is total prison planet. That's your carbon score, and nobody's waking up. Not enough people are waking up about what this is, because bread and circuses, right? Got to get the new Louis Vuitton. I just want to go on vacation. I'm going to brunch. Busy. It's crazy because it's all happening. Right? It's all just like, nobody thinks that's weird. There's also digital shopping carts too. I was going to pull that video, but there was too much swearing in it, so I couldn't bring it to you today. But there's another video of digital shopping carts, which again, represents no trust, no freedom, no, it's enslavement. So they have these digital shopping carts now that have, your checkout right on them. And, you'll have to swipe your hand to get in there. And then you need to ring it up, I guess, through your shopping cart. So it tallies everything, including your carbon credits. It goes technology, and then man, humans. It's bizarre watching this unfold. When we come back, I want to show you what Palantir is doing. Stay tuned.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen.
Welcome back. This Palantir, they're the data kings. They're the data kings. And let me tell you, gone are the days of gold, okay, where gold was the thing. Everybody was after gold. No, I think the new gold is actually data. And so that's why there's always this run on to collect any sort of data you possibly can. Your car's a data collection receptacle. Your phone's a data collection receptacle. Everywhere you go, the GPS, your Fitbit, all that, it's all collecting data. Data, right? Because they crunch that data, they put it, they use algorithms to crunch that data. Then they can come and sell you more stuff. They can track where you're going and what you're doing. They can control the consciousness when they know what you're doing. That's why data is so valuable. He's going to tell you. Listen to this. This is about Palantir.
This is the single fastest enterprise company in the world. Probably the single most important enterprise stack in the world today. Palantir Ontology. Anybody from Palantir here? I was just talking to Alex earlier. This is Palantir Ontology. They take information, they take data, they take human judgment, and they turn it into business insight. We work with Palantir to accelerate everything Palantir does so that we could do data processing at a much, much larger scale and more speed. Whether it's structured data of the past, and of course we'll have structured data, human recorded data, unstructured data, and process that data for our government, for national security, and for enterprises around the world, process that data at speed of light, and to find insight from it. This is what it's going to look like in the future. Palantir is going to integrate NVIDIA so that we could process at the speed of light and at extraordinary scale.
What they don't cover here is at what cost, right? It's all so exciting. It's artificial intelligence. It's so exciting. Progress. Yay. Technology. Yay. It's technology, then humans, right? We don't have value anymore. They're willing to strip us of, any energy that we're consuming. It's how can we suck them dry a little bit more? The carbon score. take away their animals. Yeah. Where else could we suck them dry? Where else? Well, they're breathing. We can't allow them to breathe. What could we do? How could we monetize their breath? So, NVIDIA is this company. It's the most influential technology company right now because it's at the center of the AI revolution. Why is that? Because of GPUs, graphic processing units. These are powerful chips that make video games look realistic, but we have found over time the same GPUs turned out to be perfect for AI, for machine learning, and for supercomputing. So it is the backbone of modern artificial intelligence. And so again, it's all about data. Data centers, the data they're collecting on you. We all have, it's moving. Every bit of output, is being inputted to program artificial intelligence and technology. And again, putting humans below it. I think it was Monday I played. Was it Monday or was it yesterday? I can't remember now. I played you, the nurse, right? The triage nurse who's like, hey, he's like, well, what's going on here? I'm not sure he knows how the world works, but he made a video and he's like, hey, like we're training AI as triage nurses. We've got to train them. The AI is shadowing the humans. Right? It's shadowing the humans. So your output is training, is the input to AI and so data, right? You are creating data. You're doing stuff. As a human. And as we're doing stuff, this thing's shadowing us everywhere. And we're feeding it. And we don't know where it's going. We have some indication of it. I'm not liking the culture as it's shifting, It looks too prison-y. We're not building stained glass windows and beautiful, churches anymore. We're building a bunch of stuff that looks prison-y. That's what it looks like to me. Before 4:30 comes, I want to make sure we have a chance to hit our health topic because it's a very important one today. So let's see. Make sure I have the right one here. Let's just go to our next clip, Jason, can we? Because I want to make sure we get to our health topic before Dean comes on.
90% of hypertension is a known cause. Well, today I'm going to tell you what the cause is. When you start telling people that 90% of hypertension is unknown, you make the drug companies rich because you turn the person into an ATM for certain medications. It's very profitable if you don't let people know what the primary cause is. Let me show you what the primary cause is. Okay, so here we have an artery. You have a certain layer, it's called an endothelial layer of cells. That cell layer has these little tiny receptors for insulin. And insulin triggers something that causes the artery to relax. When that receptor becomes damaged, you get high blood pressure. But the problem is, if you fix insulin resistance, sometimes it doesn't lower the blood pressure. Question is why? Because when you damage that receptor, the receptor won't let insulin in anymore. Now it's really hard to regulate and relax the blood vessels. Also, insulin causes too much calcium to go inside the cells. And this is why they use calcium channel blockers. The cause is insulin resistance. That's ignored because, like I said before, 90% of hypertension is unknown cause. So that's very interesting. But let me just give you a little bit more data. There is normally supposed to be a little protective shield around that endothelium, that layer. It's kind of like something on your frying pan that is a non-stick surface. And when that substance becomes damaged, then we get damage directly to cells, and then you start having a cascade of issues where you get holes into the area, you get inflammation, calcium buildup, excess clotting. What's that little protective shield? The glycocalyx. And that glycocalyx is super vulnerable to getting damaged from too much glucose or fructose. And it's kind of weird that a sugar actually destroys sugar, but it does. So when the sugar is too high or there's too much starch, you start getting this rusting out of that layer. It's like acid rain. It goes in there, it dissolves it very quickly. And without it, you get a lot of damage inside that artery, especially hypertension. And I'm going to talk about that. But I first want to talk about some other things, because insulin resistance also creates
deficiencies. Nutritional deficiencies. So you guys, God bless Dr. Eric Berg, right? He's been doing this a while now, and he's really like gone against the grain. Trust me, you don't wake up in the morning and go, how can I go against the medical mafia? You know, so I have so much admiration and appreciation for these doctors who have stuck their necks out to talk about the truth. You know, I follow so many nutritionists, scientists who have made it their life to bring truth to health. And he's definitely one of them. So what he's talking about here is why I am always harping on insulin resistance. This is why I am harping on building muscle, because your muscle is the way to combat insulin resistance. So all dis-ease is starting from metabolic dysfunction. How do we get into a state of metabolic dysfunction? Well, hormones, right? Hormones like insulin, hormones like ghrelin, hormones like leptin. These hormones are off balance. They're off balance because of lifestyle. And then it leads to dysfunction at the cellular level. And then we start getting deficiencies because we actually don't have the ability to pick up. The receptors aren't working to pick up the deficiencies. So you've got to start with fixing insulin resistance. How do you do that? It's actually pretty easy. Last night we had a great call, and I shared several recipes. And I have so many of them because we've been eating like this for quite a while. And so I have learned how to not eat high carbohydrate diet and still love food and enjoy food. But it's so important, because if you are just like not paying attention to the amount of carbohydrates you're eating, the amount of sugar that you're taking in, I guarantee you're dealing with insulin resistance and you're walking down the road to disease. You were never designed to eat this much sugar. You were not designed to do it. And so hypertension is just a signal. It's a signal of deficiency. It starts by, if you want to rectify it, you've got to, and don't take my word for it, take Dr. Berg's word for it. Take the research, to go to the NIH website, type in insulin resistance, understand it. The way to walk it back, high protein diet, healthy fats. Stop eating fake food, because your body does not know what to do with fake food. It doesn't know what to do. It goes into dysfunction. So what are some of the nutrient deficiencies insulin resistance contributes to? Vitamin D. Got to have vitamin D. Magnesium. That's why the American public, I think it's like 70% of the American public, don't quote me on the statistic, I can't remember right now, but it is high a high level of our population that is magnesium deficient. It's coming from your processed foods. It's coming from the insulin resistance. So what do? You take care of the insulin resistance, you fill in the deficiencies, you move your body, you manage your stress, you make sure you're sleeping. I'm excited because I get to talk to Dean Lerwick next from Pumpkin Creek Ranch. We'll be right back, everybody.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
Welcome back. So glad you're joining me today, talking about a lot of crazy things. The military-industrial complex we've been talking about how shopping is changing, how our buildings are changing, how our food is changing, what is causing disease in the body. So it fits in perfectly that Dean Lerwick from Pumpkin Creek Ranch would be joining us today. We're going to talk about regenerative farming. Just let me know, Jason, in the chat if Dean is on, so I know when I can bring him on. He's on. Awesome. Well, let's not wait any further. I want to get him on here. Dean Lerwick from Pumpkin Creek Ranch joining me today. Hi, Dean. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Tammy?
Pretty good. I feel like today I'm a little bit of a Debbie Downer, but
days like that.
There is days like that, sometimes it feels, and I'm sure you can relate, being in ranching and dealing with the state of just, how our food supply works and whatnot. Sometimes it feels like you're just like taking on a mountain, and it's overwhelming sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's constant challenges that we face in production agriculture. If it's not governments or the changing consumer demands, it's even nature itself that forces us to constantly reevaluate. So there's never a time where you can just sit back and relax and say, I got it all figured out.
Yeah, that's so interesting. He said, I think I would rather deal with nature than all the man-made problems that seem to be like, it's like, we don't have to do this. The man-made problems are so frustrating because like, this doesn't need to be this way, but somehow we can't get it together to fix it. And it's so frustrating when you're dealing with nature, when you're dealing with God, it's like, okay, well, I get it. Like he's doing this for a reason, right? Like we have these storms, we have this stuff for a reason, and you just like, you're okay with it. But when it's all man-made, it's frustrating. But, this week, I've been talking a lot about farming and food, and I covered a couple of stories this week where our food is being sprayed with stuff that's like turning it into, there was one that I covered where they're actually gassing produce and turning it. Yeah. Do you know anything about this? Can you shed some light on these types of practices?
I can't speak directly from experience. I do know that some of the things that they use, if you're going to pick vegetables or fruit, you can't wait until it's ripe and ship it thousands of miles. We've talked a lot about the various supply chains and how it's important, if you're going to have a resilient system, to have your supply chains as short as possible. One of the things that is required if you're going to bring to the market fresh fruit, vegetables, things like that, you're going to pick them before they're ripe on the vine or on the tree or whatever. So then there are ways that you can speed ripening by utilizing some various gases that help the crops ripen after they've been picked. I don't know anything about that personally because we raise grains. We don't deal with vegetables or fruit.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the ranch and what makes Pumpkin Creek unique compared to conventional beef operations. Can you tell us like what you feed your cows? Like how is it different?
Sure. So one of the things that we try to do is keep everything that we feed our cattle. We want a tight control on our production from beginning to end. That's the way that we assure our customers that they are getting the same product every time. The last thing we want is for our customers to come and say, "Boy, that was a great steak. I wish I could repeat it," and then they can never get the same one again. And so the way we do that, or the way we attempt to do that, is through using the production from our farm to feed our cattle. All of our cattle are bred, born, raised, and finished on our farm, our ranch. They never leave. We don't bring in outside cattle except for our bulls that we use to breed our cows. Everything else is bred, and they spend their entire life on the farm. And then the feed that we use to finish our cattle, whether it's grass, native grass, or harvested alfalfa, some oats and peas silage, some barley, those sorts of things, those are all raised on our farm. None of that is GMO. A lot of what we do because of the customer base that we have. I don't particularly enjoy using GMOs or chemicals or anything like that, fertilizers. We'd prefer not to. It's not that I necessarily have I don't know if you'd say an ethical issue or a moral issue with it. It's more economic. I support big business, and we have used those things in the past, and certainly far more extensively than we do today. We still use a little bit of fertilizer because we are trying to wean ourselves, restore our ecological systems back to what Mother Nature had to begin with. But understand, farming in this community started in what we would consider more of an industrial or more normal type of what we would expect. It started clear back in the late 1800s. After the Civil War, this country was settled by Civil War vets, and so they started in farming mainly wheat. But that's how far back we have to go to look at a system that was undisturbed.
Wow.
So we can start weaning ourselves off of these various chemicals, the fertilizers and all that. And we're working on that. We do not raise any GMO crops right now. And we probably won't ever again. We don't use the fungicides or seed treatments. Well, I shouldn't say that. The seed treatments we use are nutritional. We build our own biological seed treatments, that sort of thing, just to get out away from the synthetic fertilizers as much as possible. But it's a process.
What about what's wrong with feeding cows corn? They're not really meant to eat corn, are they?
No. That's kind of a loaded question. There's nothing wrong with it per se, because you can feed cows corn. They do fine on it. They'll fatten up, whatever. It does alter the fat ratios, the omega-3, omega-6 fat ratios. It alters those. And there's, what I would classify or characterize as quite a bit of suspected problems, but maybe not necessarily proven issues with the GMO feeding. It's you have to use some feed additives or work the cattle up onto corn slowly, because what you're doing is you're altering the gut environment on those cows. Those cows have 4 stomachs, as most people know. The first stomach is a fermentation vat, and the bacteria that is required to ferment grass and high lignin feeds is different than the bacteria that is required to ferment high carbohydrate feed. And so if you take an animal and that's been on grass or high roughage, lots of lignin in their feed diet, and put them on a high grain diet, they will have their rumen pH, because the rumen it's a great big fermentation vat. So lots of water, and then all of the various foodstuffs that go into that, they're mixed, and that rumen is constantly contracting and relaxing. And so it mixes all of that feed together with the bacteria in a water environment. When you inject a whole bunch of grain into there right away, without working that animal slowly up onto grain, you end up with a drastic drop in pH. And the nutrients that are absorbed in the rumen are absorbed through little tiny projections called villi. And when you drop that pH, it burns that villi off of the rumen, and they can't absorb the nutrients like they should be able to. It results in something called laminitis as well, which ends up making their feet, their hooves grow. And so those are all things that those are all issues that can be mitigated. Now, the question is, how much does that change the overall nutritional quality of the meat? That is something that there's lots of hypotheses about, and some preliminary stuff that's showing that maybe if we keep animals more on a roughage-based diet, or maybe a higher quality grain, that we can increase the nutritional content of the meat. There's a researcher, he was at Utah State, I don't know if he's still there, his name's Stefan van Vliet, that's done a lot of research on this, on the nutritional content of the meat based upon the diet of the animal. And he's been able to show that even animals that are fed corn that was raised in a regenerative manner, less synthetic fertilizers, less chemicals, less insecticides, fungicides, that sort of thing, he's been able to show that will result in a higher omega-3 content. So your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is closer to 1-to-1 than what is typical. I think it's a 1-to-6, maybe omega-3 to omega-6 in a typical corn-based. I could be wrong on that, but it's usually much higher with omega-6 in a typical corn-based finishing diet. But it really depends on the quality of the diet going in. And even if it is a grain-based diet, if it's grown in more of a regenerative manner that results in a higher nutritional content in the corn itself, that will translate to a higher level of nutrition in the meat. But it really depends on the way the feedstuffs were raised.
That's fascinating. You know what I'm curious about? You mentioned there's like one guy that's studying, the nutrition on this stuff. So I want to talk about how does this type of science, I don't know if you know, but how does it get funded? And how do we get more funding towards nutrition? Everybody stay tuned. We're talking to Dean Lerwick from Pumpkin Creek Ranch. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
Beef you can trust, flavor you deserve. Here's what you get when you shop with pumpkincreekranchco.com. Pure beef tastes fantastic. I can assure you that. Pure beef with no GMOs, no hormones, no additives, no mRNA vaccines, and no glyphosate. Just bold, award-winning flavor and peace of mind with every bite. Dean's been talking to us a little bit about how they get that flavor. They do things a little bit different at Pumpkin Creek. They're really focused on education too, which I love, which we'll ask Dean about. Welcome back to Naturally Inspired Radio, Dean. I'm so glad that you're here today. Everybody visit pumpkincreekranchco.com. We're talking about, you mentioned some studies, like this is my beef, no pun intended, with science today. Is that the only science we tend to get is the science that's funded? And the science that's funded often comes from, industrialized farming. It comes from food lobby. So how did this research even get done? How does the good research get done in this field?
I am not entirely sure who funded or who initiated the funding for the research that he was doing. That is something I'm not clear on. I do know that there's been a lot of people, we've reached out to him and I'm not sure that he's still running those profiles, those muscle profiles. But it was, we would have paid to have that. And we're still trying to get a hold of some of those numbers, even for our own beef. And that's the thing that I think with consumer demand, there's been a lot of efforts being made over the last several years to develop some simple tests that would be able to accurately and quickly assess the nutritional quality, the nutritional profiles of these various foods, and not just beef, like some of the fruits and vegetables and all sorts of things like that. There's been some progress made on that, but so far those tests are fairly expensive.
Yeah.
There's a new tool out that I just got some information from through one of the regenerative guys that I've paid for several of his classes. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a little gun that basically you run it. You put it on your food or your whatever you're trying to assess the overall quality of, and it tells you the nutritional levels. It's quite expensive. It's like $3,000, something like that for the gun yet. So it's one of those things that's probably outside of the ability to justify for the common or average person. I think with time, those tests are going to come down because they're going to be a marketing tool. If I can come to the market and say, hey, my beef that I'm raising this way, it has a much closer, maybe it's 1-to-1, maybe it's 1-to-2 omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. That's a fairly positive number. Maybe I can come to them and say, hey, we've got a higher level of flavonoids in the beef because of the food that our cattle are eating. Through all of that, I think that's where we're going to be going. And the interesting thing about the research that Von Vliet has been doing is that he's found it isn't simply that an animal was grass-fed or grass-finished that indicates quality of the beef. He found that there was a very wide range in everything that was fed grass finished to corn finished. And the worst grass finished beef was actually poorer in nutritional quality than some of the better corn finished.
You're going to make everybody upset, Dean.
I'm more interested in being accurate than I am in maintaining people's cherished notions. If they're not accurate, you need to correct them. And
absolutely.
That's why I'm not going to go start raising corn so that I can feed my cattle corn. I don't need to. I have much better luck raising barley, and I prefer barley finished beef.
I do as
There's
well.
There's
no contest in flavor. There's no contest in flavor.
Yeah. With some of this research that he's done, there's some things I think that if we can get ours tested, that we may need to adjust our ration a little bit. And if we can figure out a way to carry our animals further into their finishing cycle on a cover crop or some sort of a diverse species mix, I think we'll be able to push our flavonoid levels in the beef up. And that is something that I'm really looking for ways to do. I'm trying to figure from a managerial position or standpoint, just because of the type of operation that we have. We've got a lot of grain crops that we have to raise. So it's a constant evolving system we're involved in. But that's, trying to return more to the way the ecology used to work is what our focus is. And ultimately, one of the things that Van Vliet said is that it's not a surefire test, but oftentimes these beef cuts with a more pronounced or more textured flavor, deeper beef flavor, tend to grade higher on his tests for overall nutritional quality. So it's not a surefire thing. Yeah. More complex flavors. It's a result of a more complex and more nutritious diet that the animal was on.
Yeah. So beef is like last night I did a weekly wellness workshop with my community. And, of course, we were talking a lot about beef. It's a staple of health. It really is. And so I love that you guys are now, you have been since I think for a long time, but you're diving more into education. Why is that important to Pumpkin Creek to make sure that you're out there educating? I think you guys were just visiting a school as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, my brother just did a presentation to elementary school. I have one coming up here early November to a high school here in the western Nebraska area. Education, to me, the reason that it's so important is because, when the social media world that we live in, everybody can grab a phone and put out a TikTok or some other Instagram clip and appear as a authority. Yeah. Everybody's got an opinion. They present it as authoritative, and they can stampede people. And I'm not real interested in being part of that. I want to be part of the group that says, here's what we know. Here's what we don't know. Here's what we think. And here's what we're looking to prove. And that's what I'm far more interested in, is what can we prove and because if we can prove something, then we can repeat it. That keeps us grounded. And if you're chasing the latest social media fad, or you let whatever comes across your social media feed, drive your emotions, drive your day, you're going to be whipsawing back and forth to no end. Your emotions are played with. And so you end up, it's not a good way to live.
Yeah.
And
I totally agree.
For me, it's education that helps stop that.
Yeah. So what I've been teaching, and large in part, Dean, to you, because you helped me kind of reshape how I thought about organic. You really did. And now I teach transparency. Transparency is what you want to be looking for. It's not necessarily the organic label that you're looking for anymore. Because you guys, I learned from Dean, there are people that are organic that you wouldn't want to eat their food. Trust me, what they're doing with it. So really, the new standard is transparency. I teach all the time. You want a rancher that says, yeah, call me. Yeah. Look at, this is my philosophy on things. Here's what we do here. Here's what we don't do. Like, the new standard is beyond organic. It's transparency. When you say, I mean, I've learned that from you.
I think that's the most important thing, because, we've got, and this goes back to the whole social media thing. We've got the ideal, the cattle are going to be raised on grass and they're going to be, whatever. We've got the social media ideal. I'm not going to waste a lot of time going through all that, but you're not going to find the farm that does everything perfectly. We're human. There's gonna be things happen on the farm that you don't like. And if you knew them, if you saw them, you'd say, what's wrong with that? But that's not the way it should be. Well, no, most farmers and ranchers would tell you, no, there's things that happen on my operation that I don't like, and I'm working to change them. But if you insist on ideal or perfect in order to find somewhere to buy your food from, you're going to be hungry. So
so it's much better to have transparency and understand what you're dealing with and why.
Yeah.
I want to tell everybody when you go to Pumpkin Creek Ranch, so go to pumpkincreekranchco.com, because right now they have bulk burger patties, they have fall roast bundles, they have steak and roast bundles, slow cooker bundle for the autumn, so you can get all of that stuff, so you're stocked up. Isn't that? I mean, that's the jam for fall moms here, Dean, is for us to have our crock pots and lots of meat just to put in our crock pots. It takes the guessing game out of things. So I want to encourage you to head on over there to pumpkincreekranchco.com. Get your beef ordered. If you just want to try them out, try out a small package. They ship anywhere. You can take it as a sample for the first time. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. What's new for Pumpkin Creek? What's coming up, Dean?
Oh boy. We are working on expanding some of our facilities just to be able to handle a higher volume, so that we don't end up running out like we have been. We want to make sure that we keep as much in stock as possible. So we're expanding our freezer capacities. We're also looking just to expand our overall numbers that we're bringing to the market. That's one of the bigger things that we're focusing on. We've played around a little bit with bringing some of the other products that we're raising right now to market to our consumers. That's probably not going to happen this year. We've been looking at bringing some wheat to market, but we've got to do some more testing on that to make sure that it's where we want it to be nutritionally. We're not going to bring something to market that is, frankly put, undifferentiated from the general wheat.
Right.
So,
but you're looking to expand. Also, they're looking to do a processing plant as well too. So if anyone out there is listening, they're looking for a partner to expand on processing as well, because that will give them a real edge in the marketplace. Dean Lerwick from Pumpkin Creek Ranch, thank you so much for joining me today, Dean. Everybody visit pumpkincreekranchco.com. Get your beef. Get your beef. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.